now with Wii Sports! For a post-mortem, because we're dead. We recently completed our little 100% kind of playthrough of this thing with dear old Not a Goat, which means we got every platinum medal, which was horrific. So I thought it would be fun to go through each one, ranking by which one was my favorite, which one I found the most difficult, and how much time each of them took. So we're going to start with the first two qualities. I'm going to go through from my least favorite to my favorite one, and we're just going to play one little round of them, and no matter how poorly we do, that's the one we'll keep. And then at the very end, I'll show you all three lists of rankings. The favorites one is pretty straightforward, which one I liked the most, and then the difficulty one, I'm kind of blending which ones gave us the most hassle in the playthrough, and also which ones I think are technically most difficult. So I'm being just vague enough to not be held accountable. But let's get into it! My least favorite one! Golfing 3, i.e. the target practice, which was incidentally also my number one most difficult one. I wonder if there's any correlation there. Between the changing winds, the ridiculous precision needed to get anywhere close to the medal score they want, and the aggressive medal score they ask you to attain. This was just not one that oh my god, did I actually get 100 on the first swing? No, nowhere close. I forgot precisely. It's like a what, a 3.4 we decided that you needed for it? I can't remember, but so I need a little more power than that, and that's too much, probably. It's just a lot. It's all very much a lot. Hey, there's 100. Nice. I think this one's greatest crime is that, in theory, it's very interesting to try and measure it with the wind and like use try and math out the angles in your head. So if it's diagonally this way, like southeast, like here, it's 8 miles per hour that way, which means vector-wise, it's like 4 this way and 4 this way, and so I know if I know 4 means I have to angle it a bit this much, that means I need to underpower it that much as well, and so really I'm aiming for something like this, and that was way too little, so it's going to be like barely a 50, but see, it's like, in theory, it's just so nice, but the medal score's too much, and the controller is not that consistent, and it's just painful. It just hurts me to do this one. But, you know, it's a video game designed for enjoyment, and here I am rambling about how unenjoyable it is, so doesn't that make me the idiot in some way? But anyway, let's just finish this nightmarish round I'm playing here. Actually, for considering I haven't played it in some weeks, I'm doing better than I would have expected, but I think I'm already disqualified from a platinum, yeah, because I would need 465 more points, which is more than I can possibly get, even if I do it absolutely perfectly. Okay, so I way overpowered that. So not only is it gonna go too far, but also to the left. Oh dear. This one, we're trying to go a bit like that. I can't remember if I was using this remote at that point. I think I must have been. That must have been by the time that I realized that this one is objectively better in most ways. But, oh, that was actually not bad. That could maybe be it. Ah, so close. Honestly, I think the greatest, to be genuine for a minute, the greatest crime of this one is just that the medal score is so high. Like, mechanically, I find it frustrating, but I would be able to get over it if it didn't ask you to get 800. Averaging 8 bullseyes. Ugh. And I feel like sometimes I'm like barely getting the 100, whereas sometimes I play really well and I nail the direct center of the 100 to the point that it feels like there should be another very small bullseye that's worth 150 or something. Just to give me an extra bit of reward for those times where I actually nail it really well. And again, it's like, in theory, it's kind of interesting the way there's sort of a risk reward, because there's the closer target that you would do with an approach shot probably. And so in theory, because it's closer, it's easier to hit, but its maximum score is 75. So even if you got the bullseye on that one perfectly, it wouldn't be every time. It wouldn't be worth platinum. The first approach target, the bluish one, feels underpowered to me. It feels like, even if it's fair enough if you're not going to say there's no 100 bullseye here, so you have to hit the far one. But I think it shouldn't go 25, 50, 75. It should be like just 50 and 75. That way, the lowest score you can hit if you actually get it on this one is 50. So that way, that risk reward thing plays a bit more of a factor, where it's like, if I'm going for the far, like if I've already got a lead to the point where I only need to get 50 on the next 4 shots, say, like it's 600 and I've got 4 shots left, I could go for the far target in the hopes that I get a 100, because that'll make it even easier, the next 3 shots even easier in lower stakes. Or I could go for 450s on the closer one, which in theory should be a lot easier, but then I have to hit it each time, otherwise it's bad for me. And then I feel like it would have a bit more weight to it. Whereas, as it stands, especially if you're swapping between them, the chance of you being able to be like, I'm not saying no one can do it. I'm just saying, I think for the majority of players, if you were in a situation where it was like, okay, now I'm gonna just go for the approach one because it's easier to hit, swapping from the driver to the approach club for that will mess you up already. And even then you have a chance of only getting like 25 even if you landed on it. It just feels like the closer target is not good enough. And after this dolorous attempt, I'll have a look at the one where we did it.
Thank God, I think that's it. Wasn't an amazing end to that, but it was a pretty solid start. So we got it. Yeah, that was just miserable.
Wasn't that great? 14th in my favorites list was Boxing 2, which I found the 8th most difficult. The dodging. I need an nunchuck. Don't mind me while I put the batteries in the wrong way. A lot of the golfing ones had this problem I felt, and this was sort of what I felt through a great deal of this one, was that this one, it feels like the controls are just a hint too slow to where this feels like something that can be fairly achieved for sure every time by a human player. I'm not, and once again, I know there are people who are up to the task, but for my entertainment in this entertainment product, it just feels like just a hint too. There's just a hint too much delay on the controller's movements to really feel like the controller is backing what I'm doing really well. And additionally, I think something that my brain is having trouble processing while doing this at the same time. I think some of his throws are also just like a bit too lightning fast. Like that one was basically luck that I got that when he threw those two there. He throws it like that was so fast. How I'm meant to react to that, I'm not sure at all. Now I think probably the biggest issue I have with this one in terms of a training exercise for the boxing is that it doesn't really help me with the boxing all that much. Basically every punch moves a fair bit faster than these tennis balls anyway, and at least my experience was that I had much better results in the main boxing game by just doing this basically than actually trying to see where they're throwing a punch and then dodge it in the same way I'm doing with this minigame. So it's a little on the awkward side. I don't feel like the controls are really helping you on this one, and I don't feel like it helps with the boxing all that much. That's why it's lower down on my favorites list. And now here's me getting the platinum. Is that 85? Oh, it is. Good. We won. Goody, goody, goody. And my 13th favorite one, which I found 7th most difficult, was Boxing 3, Throwing Punches. Boxing kind of controlling this part of the map. Because this one's actually quite similar to the dodging in a lot of ways. It's much better refined, but once again, the punching, it feels designed to hit the person in the face. So hitting the little mats beside their head feels like that's a very difficult thing that this thing asks you to do in a pretty short time period, and especially with how feather light the other hands are. It's like you're just trying to like turn to the other one, and then one of the hands is like punch. Yes, that's what I want to do. It's like, no, that's incorrect. And also, it seems there's a bit of randomness with how often it gives you the double pads, which are obviously easier to hit. When it decides to do that is a bit random, it seems, and how many in one round. Whereas I think with like the punching bags, it's a little more consistent. About like every 10 is when we give you one of the heavier ones, and etc. And the little like 1-2 punch combo you do to get the double pads is a little weird in how it sometimes decides to work better than others. Like sometimes you don't even have to aim. Like I just did that, and she just like crossed her arms over one another and automatically hit the thing in the perfect position. But and like there, like I barely aimed at it at all. Whereas sometimes you'll swing it like there's nothing going on. Like I just you'll swing it unceremoniously because you're like, oh well, she'll just auto target it, and then it goes every which way and just doesn't hit the pads at all. So it locks on in sort of weird timings and stuff, but it's I would say it's definitely better than the dodging. It feels like this one works to the intended purpose a little more. Once again, I don't know how so much that this helps with the actual boxing minigame so much, because you're basically doing the opposite of what you're trying to do in the boxing game, because in the boxing game you're avoiding their hands and trying to get around them to go to their body or their head. Very rarely in the actual game do you really it feels to me like, do you really want to kind of spend the time lining up a punch the way you do in this minigame. And it had its fun, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of this one, I was like surprised that I won, because I was just glazing over the whole time, like, I'm just gonna do this till I get it, till it doesn't like punch him in the face and lose me 1,000,000 points. And then when I hit it, I was like, what? How did that? I wasn't even, that doesn't, what? I wasn't paying attention. Roll the clip. Oh my god, that was, what? I wasn't even like awake for that one. How did that happen? They just gave me a lot of doubles, I guess. And that was good. My 12th favorite, and the one that I found the third most difficult, batting practice. In theory, so straightforward. In practice, so tight and so grueling. I'm actually quite curious to see how I'll perform this, considering this one was one I ended up using the floor on, I'm pretty sure. Just lying on the ground, letting the Earth's forces just envelop me. Wow, I've already missed one on the first 10. That's a very, very bad sign. But anyway, it's also weird because in theory this is one that would be very, very helpful for the base game, except, well, there are a few things that make that except. Number one, it gives you a slightly wider foul box, so it might make you think you're better at returning the pitches in the base game than you actually are. Number two, there's no one trying to catch them, so just hitting it into the diamond is good enough in this minigame, but in the actual game is very much not. In the actual game, you're trying to hit it into the diamond, but also not directly forward, not directly to the left, and not directly to the right. Like, that would have been a horrible return in the actual game because someone would have immediately caught it, whereas that would have been much better. And so it doesn't really train you for the main game because you don't have a strong sense of what a good return is and what a bad return is. They're just counting anything in as good enough. And additionally, the fact that it starts with 10 easy ones, then goes 10 medium ones, then goes 10 hard ones. Well, first of all, that's just that thing that I find annoying, which I've mentioned all the time, which is that you have to redo the easy stuff over and over again before it lets you try the hard stuff. That, I get it, that's how a lot of games are designed. I don't like it. But also, I think that rigidity probably gives you more structure than the actual game would, in a way that makes you not learn the main game as well. I think because you're expecting it to go a bunch of easy ones, then a medium ones, then hard ones, you're probably that's probably setting you up for failure in the main game, when it's of course much more random than that. In the main game, it'll be like they can throw a really slow one and then a really fast one, and they do that a whole lot and mess you up. Although, I mean, I understand why they wouldn't design this minigame that way, because then it would be like, if you got lucky enough, it would always do, you would get a one where there were 30 easy ones in a row. Well, I suppose the one way to modify that would be to, instead of doing 10 easy, then 10 medium, then 10 hard, you could just say that there are 10 easy ones, 10 medium ones, and 10 hard ones, but they're going to play randomly throughout the thing. I think that would have probably been better, because it cues you up better for the actual game, where you go from easy ones to hard ones on a dime. And also, it wouldn't mean that you have to get through the easy and medium ones before you get to practice the hard ones. You always have a chance of practicing easy, medium, and hard, because anyone can come at you at any time. I think it's more emblematic of the real game, and probably would help you learn all three tiers of them better. Still, hardly the worst one. Golf target practice was the one that took us the longest amount of time, just sheerly because they asked you to get it perfect. I think the platinum score should have been 28 at the most, but probably something like 27, 26. Because the way it's structured, it's not the first 10 are easy, the next 10 are medium. It's the first, until you hit 10 points, they're easy. Until you hit 20 points, then they're medium difficulty, and then everything beyond 20 points is hard. So if you have a score of like 26 or 27, that's guaranteeing you're hitting 6 or 7 of the hardest ones. So I feel like that is emblematic that you understand them well enough, kind of. And getting as far as the 30 is a bit, redonkulous. Rolls a very tired and sweary clip.
It's over. I'm free. Oh, Pomni. Come here. We're safe now.
There we go. My 11th favorite one, which I found to be the 6th most difficult, was Baseball 1, hitting home runs. I think the brunt of this one is that it's just such a tight timing you're trying to hit to get it the greatest distance. Actually, hitting all the home runs isn't all that difficult. It's just hitting the 10 of them. But hitting them with a great enough distance that you're going to hit the score they want you to, which I forget, what did we decide? You needed like an average of 520 feet or something like that. It basically requires you hit them to the left there, if you're a right-handed batter, as I am. No, it's 565, was it? Something like that. Because it's 5,650 feet you need. Anyway, it's a pretty huge distance, and like I'm getting it decently consistent here in that sort of range to get that kind of distance, but it's the actual metric for deciding it is just so vague and so like inscrutable that I didn't ever really feel like I had a solid understanding of what was really necessary in getting that kind of score. And furthermore, I did have a furthermore. Oh yeah, furthermore, if you get it out of the park, which you do now and then, it stops measuring at where you went out of the park. So even though that's kind of more impressive than getting it in at like 400 feet, it might still count as only like 400 feet depending on where it went out of the park at. Not to mention, if you send it right down the middle like this, it hits the screen, which basically locks it at 530, 540, which is kind of a jerk move. It feels like it should, for this one mini game, it should be allowed to hit through the screen and carry on that way. I wouldn't say this one is really bad. It's very much like you start out just trying to hit all 10 runs, and then it's like total distance, and it's like, wait, I didn't even know I was controlling the distance. I thought it was just showing me a random number for fun. And so it's an entire different kind of activity after that, just trying to force it to get great enough distance each time. Which is also why I ranked it at 6 in difficulty, because it is just, you just kind of got to be pretty precise. And again, it's a little lower down the favorites list because that level of precision, if you're not a super pro player, basically means just doing it over and over again until you get lucky, which is not very fun. This was one for sure where I remember hitting the gold and being like, that feels like that should be good enough. Or even, it was like, we hit like 5,000 feet one time and I said, that feels like that should have been the platinum score. I was able to work on this and improve it to this point, and I don't feel like improving it anymore is going to be really a skill increase on my part as much as just getting lucky. And show that clip. Right. That was pretty good. I wasn't, again, tracking the numbers, but I think that could have easily been it. Those 3 out of the parks we got in a row.
You earned a platinum medal.
Sweet, there you go. 10th favorite, which I also found the 10th most difficult, bowling 1, which was picking up spares. There are some harder ones later on, but the brunt of this is just testing how good... Sorry, we're not doing this without the pink ball. It's just testing how good you are at making a ball cover a lot of space on the lane. Watch me mess the first one up. And I appreciate for this one very much. I think it's very reasonable of them, compared to, say, the golfing one, that they don't ask you to do it without mistakes. I very much appreciate the opportunity to let you make mistakes. Because if they didn't want to let you make mistakes, there's no point in giving you mistakes, like giving you a live system like this. So I appreciate this game from a game design standpoint of they give you a live system that means something. I'm completely flubbing this like third one. Okay, there we go.
Nice throw.
Thank you. It is a little bit samey around the middle. There are a bunch of them, like these last three, where I'm basically going to do the exact same thing for each of them, and it will count. That one doesn't count. Not by the game and not by me.
Nice throw.
I think this one and the spin control one, Bowling 3, is kind of the same way in that I think they probably could have been a little shorter. They didn't need to be quite this. They didn't need like 20 lanes or whatever it is. They only really needed like maybe 15, 14. And of course I'm completely screwing it up now, but when you're in the zone, the first like 7 usually go by so fast that they kind of feel pointless. And I get, once again, if you're a novice and they're trying to encourage you to go for bronze and improve your score, it's like, yes, you want to build your way up these. But once you've gotten bronze the first time and you've passed these seven and you're in a flow, they feel much more like a waste of time than really preparing you for the later ones, I guess. I remember thinking the spin control one, they actually, the first like 5 or 6, even though they were pretty easy, I did feel like they prepared you well for the later ones. It was like a calibration, make sure you understand, you've got your spins in mind of how that works. Whereas this one, there are basically those first 7 could have been like 3 of them, and it would have just let you get to the harder stuff faster and would have been more fun that way. But still, the bowling is fun enough to interact with, and this one's good. Roll the clip.
Nice throw. Nice throw. Nice throw.
Okay, so time to figure it out. Is this the best play? Is just go straight down the middle, try and eliminate as much curve as possible. Oh my god, that's so easy. I can't believe it was that easy this whole time. Alright, now I didn't look up how to do this one, but my best guess would be to try and throw it super straight here so that it hits 2 into 10, and then the ball hits 7. So maybe just the absolute lightest curve to the right, so to make sure it smacks 2 that way and then it bounces off. But it can't be going too fast. Oh my god, that was perfect. Okay. This one does not look hard. It's probably going to be hard, isn't it? I'm going to basically do the same thing. No, okay. Bang! Okay. And it's just one single one in the middle? Are we serious? Oh my god, don't let me mess this up now. You know, I'm super in my head about it. It's fine, it's fine. Just do it like that. I've done the... Okay, good. Good.
Challenge cleared.
Challenge cleared. Alright, okay. I retract some of my gripes. Oh, sorry. There we go. My 9th favorite one, which I found the 5th most difficult, was Bowling 2 Power Throws. in theory, this one is not that difficult at all, but again, I think it's a score that they ask you to get that is very high, considering getting a full strike multiplies your score by 2, is it? I think it was something like that. It just feels a little bit like they ask you to do a heck of a lot, and that strikes are worth so much more that it's a little ridiculous, considering it's very easy to end up with just one pin left. And that's not, I wouldn't say that's too much worse than a strike. I know that in the actual bowling minigame and in actual bowling, you get a lot more points if you get a strike than just leaving it with 1 pin left, but considering the nature of this game where the pins are going up each time and it's hard to sort of memorize in that way, and you kind of like, it's very frequent that you get a situation like this where there's just the one left and you were like a hair off of getting it right. The fact that it docks you half the points for that feels a little bit extreme. And the whole doubling points thing, of course, as I mentioned in the actual video we did it, I think it lends so much more weight to the later ones that you could almost not play for the first bunch. So again, just the fact that your super hard work in making sure you get the first 8 perfect is not valued as much as getting the last 2 perfect by luck feels a little weird. I'm not acquitting myself especially honorably on any of them right now, but as you can see, I'm hitting a situation very often here where I'm leaving just 1 or 2, and the timing of everything is just so tight that to consistently make sure I don't leave these like 2 or 3 behind feels a little like they're asking a bit much of poor old me. So it feels almost like if you get all but 1, it should have multiplied your score by 1.5, and if you get the strike, then maybe it multiplies you by 2 or like 3 or something crazy like that. Just that it's not really like if you're not hitting like 5 of the 10 strikes, you're screwed. And now, let's see if I can get the secret one with 1 try only. I have my doubts. No, yeah, I've had it way too far to the right. Well, good. But that's like, what, around 400 points, which I'm almost positive is better than whatever first score we would have gotten. Power throw's not so bad. I like the secret strike. That's fun. It's just another situation where refining it so that you get the strikes over like 1 pin left on the 9 leading up to the secret strike is just so hair-thin, asking you to make such precise maneuvers with this thing that it sort of becomes not fun. It becomes a chore of like, it's like if someone gave you 10 sewing needles and asked you to thread all 10, but if you like did it wrong on the first thing, someone like slapped them all out of your hand, threw them around the room and said, go pick them up and try again. Why don't you just let me do it till it works? Why do I have to get it all right at once? Speaking of getting it all right at once, here's the platinum clip.
Nice throw. Nice throw.
Okay, good. Dude, this one needed to chill. This one needed to take a Kit Kat and a break. Because, like, honestly, more review in a minute. You'll see me. I'll record it another day, but today, no. I just give me the medal. I'm done. I'm done. Thanks. Thanks. That's what I'm done.
Goody, goody, goody. My 8th favorite one, which I found the second most difficult, was putting. You probably wouldn't have known it from how just defeated I was in that video, but I did like this one conceptually. I think there's something very satisfying about the mechanical, like, brain work of seeing something far away from you up a hill a little bit and like trying to calculate the angle and strength required for it. In practice, of course, doing it all without any mistakes is annoying, but of course can be done and can be learned. I think, again, where I would have gone with this is, I understand if you want to make it so that you have fewer mistakes on this, if you're trying to go for the platinum, because that is, you know, more difficult than getting all 10 of them. And getting all 10 of them with 5 mistakes isn't actually, like, you know, horrifically difficult. It's tough, but I wouldn't say, I would agree with them that that's not necessarily platinum worthy. It's probably just gold worthy. But giving you absolutely no mistakes for this bit, it feels, again, just a little beyond cruel. I think the right way to do it would have probably been to, oh, that was damn good.
Try again.
It would have been to be like 2 or fewer mistakes, I think. It would have been a cool platinum score. I've just done the same thing.
Try again.
And again. Well, that wasn't
Try
good.
again.
Maybe a little more strength. Oh, and then it just went higher. So again, because it's hard to just get it to do a little bit more. Also, that sort of thing happens a lot. But I think that this one's greatest grievance to me personally was that they asked you to do it with 0 mistakes whatsoever. Like, again, I understand that literally speaking, that is the pathway to the best score in the actual golf game, would be to be able to perfectly get any putt. But the nice thing about the mistakes is that it lets you have feedback from, like, you see exactly what you did wrong and you can say, I know how to correct that on the next go around in this place. So it feels like for the later level, for like holes 8 to 10 especially, if you were allowed just 2 little mistakes, or even just 1, just more than 0. It would just be that least bit less grueling and a bit more teachable, which again, ultimately, I think is what these training exercises should be trying to do, is teaching you how to play the main game better. Roll the platinum clip.
Nice in. 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 Challenge clear.
It's done.
You earned a platinum.
I finished it.
Sweet. I looked so tired, didn't I? I think I was wearing this shirt too, wasn't I? No, maybe it was a different one. My 7th favorite one, which I found the 9th most difficult, and incidentally was also the first one we did, was Tennis 1, Returning Balls. I eventually gained a fair bit of an appreciation for this one. I think it does have some flaws. I don't really care for the way that, especially around the middle portion, it's a bit random how difficult the returns are. Like, when you get into the 20s and beyond, sometimes it's very, very easy and slow, and sometimes it's really, really fast and ridiculously precise they want you to be with it. This one took me a long time because this was still before I realized that the direction you swung actually mattered, because it's a bit weird in that if you swing the wrong direction, it still has a chance to work somewhat. So, I don't know, this is less of a criticism on this particular training exercise and more of a criticism on the actual tennis in general. I think it should somewhere make it a little more clear that if you swing the wrong way, it's bad for you. Because it works some of the time, I keep thinking it's fine. At that time, I kept thinking it was fine, so... Oh, that's gonna go out, isn't it? Bugger. That was not a very good single attempt, but... I mean, ultimately, this one does get you into the mindset of the tennis reasonably well, I would say. It's about the same stuff. Being that you're only returning serves, it's kind of like a locked off portion of the tennis, like you're only really learning how to... Because your returns, the direction doesn't actually matter for the next ball all that much, kind of doesn't train you in that, which is very useful for the tennis to know that if you return it far, that's going to alter where your next return comes from. But in terms of I think if there was even just like one little note in the corner, the direction you swing matters. It probably says that in the instruction booklet. Ultimately, this one's very like middle of the road, basic, good. There's a bit of randomness in the middle, which kind of sucks, and it gets pretty grim by the end, especially that they don't want you to do 80. And once again, it's very easy to glaze over for the first like 20 or so when you've done it like 30 times in a row, and now you're just like, okay, get these first easy 15 ones out of the way. So its greatest crime is occasionally being dull. But it was probably a good one to start with because it is kind of basic in that they're not asking you to do anything too complicated. Roll the clip.
You earned a platinum medal.
And there we are. As I've said, I love the tennis in this, so even if the minigame is pretty basic, I enjoyed it anyway. My sixth favorite, which I also found the 14th most difficult, I found this one pretty easy on the whole, was spin control. There are a few around the end that are a little tougher, but generally this one is pretty chill, and it's more or less just like the picking up spares one with slightly extra steps. Because to do the picking up spares one, you also have to be able to control your spin, so it's spin control also, but just without the barriers. And this one has, slightly few. This one isn't. I guess this one is only ever asking you to hit the one pin, except for that one time where they ask you to get a strike for some reason. So, in that way, it is easier. You're not actually going for split spares, but in theory, the same kind of tactic applies of just trying to kind of get that crescent shape in your throw. There are a lot of transferable skills between these two. So partially because I'd already done number one, I was kind of used to what they were asking for here somewhat. Ooh. So I want to do that with slightly less curve. There we go. Some of the later ones, the barriers do pose an interesting challenge, and some of the later ones, I would say it's a slightly obnoxious challenge. Like you have to be pretty precise, otherwise it's going bad. Also, this was the one where I learned, I can't remember if I included this or cut it out, but that bowling lanes are curved. I didn't realize that it was angling to the right here, so that even if I hold it fully left, it will roll to the right anyway. So this was an interesting way to learn that. I don't actually remember how I did this one that I just failed 5 times in a row. I said this was the 14th hardest one, as in the second easiest one, but I just failed it pretty miserably there. Can I just give that one more go? Anyway, not unlike the other bowling one. Again, even though these first few help you calibrate, it does make it a pretty long-winded experience, longer-winded than it really feels like it has to be. So even though I would consider it pretty easy, it still was one of the ones that took us a little on the longer side, especially because of the recording issues, but I don't think that was the only problem. Oh, right. If you throw it high in the air, then you have less curve, which so you kind of want to do that for this one. Like that, so that it doesn't turn all that much. Okay, right, good. I was looking at that one, I was like, how the hell did I manage this? This looks so hard. Forgetting that I could do that, and it would be just as easy as a cake or pie or any other baked good that you desire at this particular moment. Is that gonna work? No! I meant to do it from here, of course, obviously. Fool that I was. What was I thinking going from that other location? You wonk! This one is also quite satisfying. when you get into a good rhythm of it and you remember what sort of your ultimate goals for each lane are and everything, you kind of like, you start feeling like a pro. You just start going like, oh yeah, go through this one, and you throw it like that, and it's like boom, bam, bam, Bob's your uncle, I missed. Boom, bam, bam, Pam's your aunt. Oh yeah, this one's a little on the precise side, isn't it? You kind of want to point a little away, then have like hard angle. So, oop, that wasn't good. Sorry, you want to whip it with a hard angle, so it goes like, and then screams to the right at the last minute there. Yeah, that's the one you want. They give you like a little border on the side here, but that like doesn't matter if you just go on the other side. So I don't really know why they did that. It's a little weird. Wonk. This is where they start getting a little bit on the a fair bit complicated side. This one in particular, I think, usually took me a few goes. Not bad at all. This one, I think you can basically just do this. It's been some time, but I did have to do it several times, so there's in theory a lot of stuff that I should remember. Oh, I thought I was able to curve that one slightly more hard second time, but I curved it harder and it did the same thing, so never mind. But there you go, I only got a second try back after however long. Got 14 of the 20 lanes. I don't think that one's that hard in general. And roll the exasperated clip. Okay. 3 now to get it one single strike. I can't believe how fast I got it before. Okay, good. There you go.
Challenge clear.
That's a platinum medal worthy score right now. It's on video. Everything I still said about it in the review stands. There we go. That wasn't, of course, the actual time getting the platinum because we lost that footage tragically through no one's fault. My 5th favorite, which I also found the 12th most difficult, was boxing number 1, work on the bag. 12th most difficult, which is to say not all that difficult. I think I like this one a lot because, first of all, it's just very satisfying when you get into the nice rhythm of like 1, 2, 1, 2, smashing these bags off the hinges, but I also think it's very good for teaching you how the combo works in the interest of the actual boxing minigame. Like, I think I didn't really understand that there were combo attacks before we did this one, right? And then by the end of this one, if you're getting the platinum on this one, it's because you've gotten good at the timing for the combo attacks, which, when they give you a bunch of these cloth bags in a row, it's very satisfying to just lay into them all like this. It's a little bit deceptive in that it gives you a lot more cloth bags later on, so if you have a bad score and by the first 30 seconds, like as in the score that does not look like it's going to on track to get platinum, you might think, oh, I should just give up now, when in reality, it's going to get a lot easier to rack up points by the end when you get through all these black and white leather ones, so it's a little misleading in that way, but at least they give you, I think the variety is good so that you get a sense for, because the black and white leather ones have a health bar closer to that of an actual boxer in the minigame, but so even though they're worse for this minigame, they give you a better sense of what is actually needed to knock someone out in the base game, and the cloth bags. But then after that point, they just give you a bunch of cloth bags to the point that it's very satisfying to just tear through them all like this. I don't remember what the platinum score even is for this one, but I'm pretty sure we're not reaching it. Was it 60 or something like that? Actually, platinum, I just looked it up and it's 40, so we were pretty damn close to getting a platinum even on that first one back, so that's part of why I'm saying I don't think it's actually that difficult one. But what I like about it is that it basically is a hard wall of, you have to understand that the way the combo mechanics work if you want to get through this one. So it's good in teaching you that there. But then if you understand the combo mechanics, 40 points isn't actually all that grueling to get. It took us like an hour, I think. You'll see all the times at the end. Not much more to say about that one. I really like it. Roll the clip. Booyah! Platinum! Knew we had it in us. And sweet. Definitely my favorite of the boxing ones. I think it's the one that gives you the most tangible skills for the actual boxing game proper. My 4th favorite one was tennis number 2, which I also found the 11th most difficult. It was starting to get up there, but really it was more my mindset that was dragging me back at the time we were playing it than anything else. It is, in some ways, it's quite similar to tennis number 1, just with like a slightly larger amount of precision required. Only they don't ask you to get quite as many points. Well, I say slightly larger precision. Oh, wow. I lost 2 points. That's probably fine. The actual experience of getting to 50 points on this one, once you get it, I don't think it's all... It's like, oh, what was I worried about? That's just, once you understand the angles of it, it just takes a bit of grit, really. It's getting up there. That's why I didn't have it at the lowest. Like, it's 11th because it's still tough. The majority of the difficulty comes from just the mindset of it, though, of just like trying to tune yourself that I need to hit it in this particular direction. And of course, it does help somewhat for the main game, because even though you're not actually trying to hit like a moving target in this way in the main game, you are often trying to say, okay, I want to send it left now. I will have the best result if I send it left. let me do everything in my power to send it left. Once again, they're giving you very sort of soft and light serves to the point that it doesn't really prepare you well for the experience of getting a volley going back and forth, where it sort of picks up an intensity and goes all over the place. But it teaches you how to move, aim it a certain direction. That's nice. The bars move in kind of weird ways. They kind of like judder along, which is kind of odd, and I don't think they should be allowed to shrink once you've already returned it, because you'll return it at a trajectory that if it stayed where it was, it would be in, but then like one of the bars will just move out of the way at the last second, which feels kind of cheap. It feels like it should only start. I get it. Well, it's on the move. That's fine, because in the actual game, your brain is detecting where you're supposed to hit as on the move. Like, you're constantly shifting back and forth. Do I want to hit left or right? It's when it's in the corner and it starts by shrinking and then moving that it feels kind of uncool, because it wasn't already moving. So it's like, unless I knew how this game decided when it would move to the precise frame, to expect me to know that it was about to shrink out of the way, it feels a bit much. But I did not acquit myself honorably there at all. But have a look at the time I actually did it. Good, okay. I lost composure again, surprising no one, but it's over now. There we go. The idea was not that I get a good score on any of these now. The idea was just that I try it once and we see how poorly I do. I only retried on the spin control because I really forgot that I could do the thing I could do, where you throw it high and it spins less. Anyway, thinking about it now that I've had some time to actually get into each of them, I think that I'd maybe have ranked that one a little high in favorites, but it's still up there. Nevertheless, my third favorite one, which was the easiest one I found in the game, spin control. It was one of my favorites because I think it gives you really good feedback. The score is very manageable that they're asking you to achieve, and I think that, to a degree, this one does help you in the main game. I mean, to a point, it's also going so fast that in the main game, you're just desperately trying to hit the pitches at all, is kind of how it feels. Rather that you're not, I don't feel like you're quite as often really having the sort of soundness of mind to be like, yes, I'm going to try and hit it within this specific sector. I mean, some people probably do, but I think generally that's asking a bit much of you. Okay, wow, I'm totally bungling this now. It is unfortunate that, as I believe I said the first time we did this, the lines on the ground that are showing you where to go cover up the shadow, so it's hard to see, because sometimes you're using the shadow a little bit to determine where to swing. I'm doing a really awful job now, but we got this one in like 20 minutes the first time. It's part of why what was in my consideration when I said this was when I've declared this the easiest one in the game. But I'm really not living up to that that claim right now. Well, I'm really hard flubbing it. I mean, it still is pretty tight timing they require from you, but once again, the score they're asking you to get is not all that bad. That was really bad. Can I try that again, actually? Just because it's one of my favorite ones, and that sucked. Let me shut up and try that better. Hi, Lucia. Pretty sure that's you. Not a marvelous score, but it's certainly a lot better than that first one. I'll take that. That's like, what, 23 points, and you only have to get like 60? 42 points, and you only have to get like 50 or 60. Great. That was a nice one. Roll the clip.
Excellent. Great. Nice. Great battle. Well done. Excellent. Nice. Okay.
I think that's 64 if my math is right. So that's not a platinum, but it's 1 point away. Oh, no, 69. Okay, I miscounted somewhere. Sweet, fastest platinum we've gotten so far, 25 minutes. Good. Up at number 2, my second favorite one, which I also found fourth hardest of the whole thing, was hitting the green, the approach one. I found this one very tough, but pretty rewarding. I like, again, that it's another situation where doing poorly up front doesn't screw you out of getting the platinum later, and doing really well up front actually informs, like, makes it easy, makes it so you're under less pressure later. Again, this one's let down just a little bit by the amount of precision you can really get out of this thing, but the ultimate, like, vibe and feel of this one is very good. It's very right on, and I think does teach you a fair bit about how hills interact with your approach shots and stuff like that. I'm doing a pretty bad job already. I basically already screwed myself with the platinum, but I appreciate that it does not ask you to get any of these perfect, and if you do really well up front a bunch of times in a row, every single decimal point of a foot that you do better makes the next bunch considerably easier. I think, as I was saying before, off the green being an immediate 100 feet feels a little punishing. I think it probably could have just given you the actual score that would have been, because getting off the green right beside the pin and getting off the green, 20 yards away from the pin are very different in the actual game. So for it to treat them as the same feels a bit wrong. It feels like if you get it off the green but it's 10 feet away, it should give you a score of 10 feet.
Nice approach.
Because sometimes the pin is closer to the edge of the green than others and all. And it's a little trying that within this minigame there is a bit of randomness as to where the pin ends up. So sometimes you'll just restart till you get the one you want, which is not really how any of the games... That's not really the playing experience you should have with any of these, according to me. But sometimes it is just, like, objectively the more efficient way to play it with one of the ones where it gives you an easy one. But still, overall, it ended up being one of my favorites in hindsight. I don't think I was too pleased with it at the time, but in hindsight, I think this one probably taught me a lot about the approaches, and I appreciate, above all, that your performance early on actually matters. It has an impact on your performance later, not just in the sense of you have to get the first bunch perfect, but you could even kind of suck on the first ones, and then if you perform really well on the later ones, so not doing that, it would be fine. But even that not very good performance would be fine if I had absolutely nailed the first 8 or so. So I appreciate that, and I don't know why it took me so long to figure out that I was allowed to use the iron, but it's cool that they let you use the iron as well, and it's not like they're forcing you to use the approach shot. They're really just saying, sure, just get it onto the green however you're gonna, but of course, it's much harder. It's best with the approach shot most of the time. Now, that was pretty horrible, but I did slightly less horrible here.
Chip in. Nice approach. Chip in. Nice approach. Nice approach. Nice on. Nice approach. Nice approach. Nice on.
My God, I think that's it. What an amazing start I had to that run. Holy crap. I mean, that was beyond good.
You earned a
Not beyond good and evil, just beyond good. That was just good. There we go. And my absolute favorite one was the tennis target practice, which I incidentally also found 13th the most difficult, which is to say third easiest. I don't think it's all that difficult once you understand the angles of everything. It's a pretty reasonable score they ask you to get. This was kind of like the only one where I hit the platinum score and I went, actually, I kind of would have preferred they made that a little higher, so I had to think a little more carefully about that. And now, of course, I say that and I'm probably about to completely bungle it here. I set that one way too high. But I really like the idea of sending it high sometimes to kind of slow it down and gain more control over it. But of course, the longer you spend sort of trying to slow it down and collect yourself, the more likely it is that you're going to slam it right into one of the walls and eventually make it much harder on yourself. So I like the tactical play of it for that reason, but also that I like just to the degree you control the pacing, but also that there's a great degree of strategy to how much you destroy each wall as you go along it. It does sort of suffer from the problem of the other tennis ones that like the first 20 or so usually are pretty straightforward and therefore kind of boring to repeat, but it is better because if you're screwing them up, like the worse you do, like I'm doing here, where I'm completely busting the wall, is of course making it much harder on you later. So that that adds an interesting layer to even the easier parts, where it's not just about not making mistakes, but it's about in what direction you make a mistake, and the magnitude of your mistake has a great deal of impact on the later play. The play as you're on to like the 30-point mark and everything. So I'm doing a bad job of getting this one over here, but I want to do it more like that. Get it way over there. Good. This is like one of the few where once I hit the platinum, I felt like that was a really fun game that I felt like I could play for hours beyond just getting the platinum score. I really enjoyed this, and again, it wasn't one of the ones that I found the most difficult. That maybe plays a part, is that I just didn't find it grueling enough that I immediately wanted to stop once I won. But let me just do a bit of this so I can get it going that way. That was too hard. Damn it. As I had said the first time we played it through, I think it's a bit weird how hard it is to get it going in the late direction. It's like weirdly so much easier to send it early. So the best way to go in the direction that your racket is not facing is to send it once this way and then get over here and turn around and send it once that way. But of course you don't have control over which way she holds the racket, really. But that, again, that's a bit more of a problem with the actual base sport of tennis, because I have that now and again in the actual game as well, where I'm like, I don't actually understand why she was holding it on that side. I would have much preferred if she were holding it on this side so I could do that. And I think, as I mentioned in the episode where we got this platinum, it's a little bit weird that the optimal way to play this is to do a lot of light returns, whereas in the actual game you're trying to do really hard returns that are hard to return, because that's what will mess the other player up. Whereas this one, if you do something really quickly, the wall equals your strength about. So setting a really hard return makes it harder on you. So it's a bit weird that they kind of invert what you're trying to do from the main tennis game there, but it still does teach you. It doesn't necessarily teach you about what you're trying to do, but it teaches you about the general mechanics of, if you swing it higher, it will be much easier to return and it will slow down and everything. And so it gives you a sense of the kinesiology of the way this minigame works, which is still good. But more than being useful as a training minigame, it was just the one I had the most fun with, I think. So golf clap for you, tennis. And there you have it. Went through all 15 of them. I told you which ones were my favorite, which ones I found the most difficult. I will now swipe my webcam off screen briefly, so that we can rank them by time. Here you go. Here you can see all the times. And if I put a little chair there, it means I sat down on the chair in the middle of it because I didn't feel like standing up for it. We used the chair of unathletic shame. And then there was the one for baseball 3 where I laid down on the floor. I used the floor of dolorous weeping, or whatever is on screen there. And now that you've seen all those times, I can wipe all those and now put all 3 lists up on screen at once. My favorites on the far left, which ones I found most difficult in the middle, and then the times it took me for each of them on the far right, so you can have a look at all those stats and compare them if any of that interests you. And hey, while we're at it, which ones were your favorite? Which ones did you find the most difficult, if you've played them, or even just by watching me? What's your to tell me? No, I want your opinion, because I kind of feel like the kinesiology of them, to use that word again incorrectly, is different for every person. I feel like the kind of like the way the physical stuff interacts with the digital stuff, I feel like probably comes in a little different to each of us. So I think that would be an interesting to see which ones each of us found difficult, and we may be able to find a trend, or maybe we may find it's just chaos and that none of us agree on it. And now I'm back. Look at me. I'm on screen again. And I'm done. That's the end of the video. I just felt it was worth recapping all these, because these 15 platinum medals took more time out of my life than I ever thought possible or ethical. And it felt like we needed some kind of debrief on them. So there you have it. The Wii Sports Platinum Medals postmortem complete. Overall consensus. Many of them were quite fun. Generally, I found the gold medal scores more likable to get. The one exception basically to that rule is the tennis target practice, where I think they could have brought the platinum medal score up to like 50, because that was the one I found the most enjoyable, and so I was so sad to leave it so soon. And that is all. Next video on the channel is going to be some more Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, and that is all from me, so thank you so very much for coming around. Hopefully I'll see you around. Admiral's going to be out of here now. Peace! That's a hard wall if you're just supposed to die if you've been detected at all before that point. You would think they would just fail the mission on you, rather than letting you walk up that far with hope. Nevertheless, the only thing I really did wrong right at the end there was I tried to get out from the generator thing and run the whole way, which was dumb. I could have just probably gone behind the whole thing. Maybe they hurt me.